What's in the Box? Presented by Sure It'll Be Grand.
And welcome back, everybody, to Sure It'll Be Grand, or more specifically, What's on the Box, with David and myself, as we are jumping into episode 10 of
11.
11.
Already 11.
11.
Yeah.
Why?
Can you believe it?
Well, okay, yeah, because last two episodes, so it's episode 11. Wow, okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I started to sound, I feel like I'm sound stupid. Because I'm just like, I think this is my favorite episode of this season. You know? It just keeps on happening. Like, but I'm starting to understand I'm liking different episodes for different reasons. I'll try to make myself sound smarter by saying that. But yeah, no, really enjoyed this episode. What did you think?
Yes, yeah, this episode, there was a lot happening. There's, they just keep getting better. I think that this show has really been like the roller coaster in the sense of the speed, right? That as more stuff's happening, more things going. Once we got this flow going, man, the show's taken off. The show's just, everything adds to it, everything getting better and better. I'm really, really enjoying it. And yeah, this episode, I don't know if I would quite say this one's my favorite, but it's pretty darn close so far, and I really enjoyed it. I was definitely left like, wow, I love this episode.
Yeah, I'm wondering, like, I really, like, don't get me wrong, I liked the first few episodes as well. They were very good. But I will say I've enjoyed the show more as it was going on. And I really, really hope there's not too many people that gave up in the first 3 episodes or so and missed what's to come.
Unfortunately, that's the common thing I'm seeing. It's too bad about that is I'm seeing a lot of folks respond with that they gave up after they couldn't even make it through the second one. They said it was too slow for them. They didn't like it.
Yeah.
I've seen that as a really common trend from the, I would say, average, watcher. And that's too bad. I think which is funny. They're saying now they're going to release those 2 episodes. The first 2 episodes are getting a wider release later this month. That even ABC, they're just going to air the first 2 episodes just to try to lure people in. And I'm like, man, this is not the show it's not the kind of show that had those like first few episodes that get you, unless I think you really are a fan. But as they get going, they're awesome. But yeah. I'm not sure that they had that same hook. Like at something like, say, Mandalorian, right? Where Mandalorian.
See, that's it exactly. You're right. It's but it's more than just the hook of, oh wow, this is a great episode. It's also about who it's about, because Mandalorian, people know that name. Yes, Book of Boba Fett. Oh, I know that name. Obi-Wan, I know that name. Andor as a character is not the most famous, well-known name in Star Wars.
Yeah, and what's funny enough is how I was just commenting earlier to my wife, was that this show very much is showing us this is just more about the thing, as we've even talked about. It's the rebellion, right? It's the birth of the buildup of the rebellion. And even though it's called Andor, really he's kind of second character or third character.
Yeah,
where he's just helping to be the glue. Right. This would probably actually been it would grab more people just offhand if you call this, Star Wars Rebellion or, Rise of the Rebellion, something of that nature.
Yeah. Because
that's what this really is portraying. But just by calling it Andor, you're like, oh, so it's focused on this guy, this dude. Well, oh, okay. No, it's not. He's our vehicle. He's helping to bridge everything together that we're following. But it really isn't as much about him, except I bet towards that we'll speak to it later. Probably the final episode of the season will probably push more for that. But otherwise, it's really just helping to be the vehicle to see about the rebellion in general and how what's really going on and this chokehold of the Empire.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure even we could call it something like Rise of the Rebellion, because like we have seen throughout this is a part of the rebellion. Because if we're going to start saying Star Rebellion, we can talk about Rebels. Rebels could have easily been called, they're called the Rebels. Right.
I think something like that, right? Where that show was called Rebels, it was about this group of rebels. And this similarly, right? I think it would have probably been it almost needs to be, referencing more of that's just about the rebellion and the Empire, something of that nature. But because by just calling it Andor, everybody thinks, oh, it's about this guy, and the average Star Wars, fan is,
I mean, look, the movie he is from, Rogue One, it's okay. I'm going to say something. It's not meant this way, but I'll say it anyway. It is not the most colorful, charismatic movie, right?
Right.
That's not to say it's not charismatic in its own way. I would say it's the same thing about Andor. There is a charisma to Andor, and I've argued about this before, but it's not the kind of colorful, swashbuckling, cowboys in space kind of vibe we are used to of Star Wars. So, and like Rogue One to me it's definitely more about the stories and the characters in it. It's more about the struggle and pain that the rebels actually had to do, rather than just making it about some kid from a desert who shot a hole really well from a distance, So I have... Go on.
Well, what's funny, and what I do find funny, and we're going, we'll dive into the episode in a moment. One of the things that I find very amusing, and I think it makes sense about why they did choose this, right, is I have noticed over the years, ever since Rogue One came out, that let's say if I'm out somewhere, right, go to a restaurant, go to dinner somewhere, I happen to be wearing a Star Wars shirt, one of my many Star Wars shirts or jacket or something, I would say I'd get a lot of your average person, right, the waiters, waitresses, or just whomever whomever there. It all seems to always be at a restaurant, so that's why I reference this. It's that they will usually say like, "Oh yeah, Star Wars." Also, they're like, "I loved Rogue One."
Yeah,
I've had that happen. They don't bring up anything else. They don't bring about or even the OG one. They'll just be like, "Rogue One, I loved it," and it was like,
yeah.
Huh,
I mean, arguably,
that's the one that they bring up.
Arguably, it's the one spin-off Star Wars, which I think even when it came out, people didn't hate. I don't think anyone ever hated Rogue One flat out. But I think some people, because I guess it's a slow burner of a movie as well, and it takes a little bit getting used to it. But yeah, I think there has been a bit of a rebirth in popularity with that. But again, I wonder if it's more about, oh my god, Darth Vader is so cool in that one scene. Princess Leia CGI was weird.
Right. It's the one with some weird CGI, especially Tarkin and all that. We won't get into. But I just want to tell you that from the story perspective, because when it came out, what I remember is that actually was very positive. Right, there was a lot of positive.
It wasn't negative.
But I'm just find it very amusing that ever since that, if just your average person on the street happens to see something that I said they see Star Wars, they're like, oh yeah, I love Rogue One. Like, it obviously made an impact.
Well, right? It doesn't have many peers when it comes to spin-off Star Wars movies.
Yeah,
because I mean, I know there is a big divide amongst fans about Solo. Some people just think Solo is a fun little, again, swashbuckling sort of movie, and then other people are just like, why was this made?
You're right.
I'll be honest, I'm in the second camp. I know you are in the first.
I'm on the first, but I do understand the second camp. It's not, I don't say it's not perfect, and I would have done a lot of things differently.
Yeah.
But what we do, there is a discussion out of that I think we should bring up as an episode that many of these things touch upon. But that should be for another discussion.
Yes, that should be for another discussion. But let's actually talk about the episode. We're how far into it now? We're about 10 minutes into it. So let's get actual talking.
Yeah, actually get talking. This is just warm up. It's all warm up.
Yeah. So we'll do it in the sections that we've been doing in the last few episodes. But so we get this weird horizon effect on the scene. It's like this light that's slowly opening up, and you hear some muffled talking, and I guess as it opens up, we find out it's B2 Emo looking at his master's chair, her stick, because we find out very quickly that Andor's mother has passed away. Yeah. I find it really interesting because I think the character that kind of wins that entire scene is B2 emo, really, because first of all, it makes complete sense. Look, we know that robot has like it's slowly breaking down. The battery's not working that well. It's not good at remembering things. It stutters. It's kind of on its, it is on its own way dying. It's like an old dog that just comes up for a bowl of water and food once in a while, goes back to sleep afterwards.
He's an old faithful dog, but an old faithful droid.
But the thing is, like, even just the introduction of him slowly seeing things and things being muffled, it's almost like someone who's shut down. Like they can't deal with what is happening, and he really can't deal. What was the mother's name again? Marva. He can't deal with Marva being gone because he says, one of Andor's friends come over and said, hey, look, if you want, we can clear the room. You can see the body for the last time. Like, what do you need? And he goes, I need Marva.
Yeah. Oh my God. That was like heartbreaking because he had that mixture of like almost like a child, right? Trying to understand, being like, well, she might show up as they keep going. Like, maybe like they have to be like, she's gone.
Yeah.
She is not coming back. She's gone. And he genuinely sounds sad. Even if you watch it with closed captioning, they even say like sad droid noises or that he's sad. It makes sad mechanical. I'm like, it was just heartbreaking. Like it was. Oh, I felt that.
But even like body language wise, as weird as it sounds, because it's just a box with a box on top, really. Like he falls into himself. Like, he kind of just falls in and just like, and they don't know what to do with him. Like, they know someone has to take responsibility. And this is a point I messaged you about earlier, and I find so fascinating. These people seem to actually genuinely care for this robot, or at least because this robot belonged to Marva, they will look after it. Because, like, imagine, like, the Star Wars universe, right? People aren't nice to droids, and this is not a dark side, evil to droids, and the good side are nice. They are absolutely not. The good side, they're assholes to droids, frankly. Like, we've already seen it in Solo, interestingly enough. We see a robot that's all about, getting robot independence, and we discover that if data banks don't get cleared often enough, over time, they start growing. They're kind of, I think... So I would say in the Star Wars universe, droids are mostly sentient, but within their programming. And the longer they're left running, they kind of grow beyond their programming. And that's why we have like R2-D2 being quite a personality, really. He kind of does his own thing. He doesn't really listen to his master all that much. And we kind of see it with Solo as well. I can't remember the name of the robot.
L3 set. It's Yeah,
but we know that she's been kept unwiped for many years, and she's kind of got her own personality. So that's this, like, they are definitely sentient. I think all droids, even fresh off the block, seem to have a sentience to them. I mean, even like the little weird droids on Tatooine that look after like a pod racing and all that, and they can like jump into a disc. They have fear and laughter. Like, like, I always felt like there must be one programmer that does all these droids, because that person must have a personality. Like, there's something going on there. But in reality, there is a certain sentience. And I mean, they basically use as slave labor, quite expendable. We see it with when they first leave Tatooine, and they're not Tatooine, Naboo. Was it Naboo Alderaan? And R2-D2 and his buddies are told to go on top of the ship and just basically fix it, and they all get shot away except for R2-D2. And it's one of the few times where we then says, oh, well, this R2-D2 unit will have to be looked after very well. Thank you, brave little droid.
Right.
One of the few times where they went, sound man, thanks. Because like, I think we saw some in Clone Wars where R2-D2 goes missing and Anakin tries to find him, and we see that he clearly cares. I think there's probably a part of it there. He's just like, oh, this droid belonged to my girlfriend, and I will love it.
Well, that's a good point of like in Clone Wars, well, like where there's when he goes missing, or that when he's sent off. There's an episode where that he and Anakin crash. There's something that happens. I think they crash or something. R2D2 manages to go. He's able to escape in the ship, back to the ship, because Anakin tells him he's like trapped. Anakin's completely trapped. He's injured and he's trapped. And he tells him, "You've got to go back and tell them." And he goes off, and he zooms in. Finally, gets back to Coruscant, zooms in, or to the ship. I can't remember which. Either way, he zooms in, and it's Mace Windu talking with. He has Ahsoka and I think a few of the others, and he zooms in, and he's whatever, and Ahsoka's the one going, This is Anakin's droid. What's he saying? Tell us, Anakin. Like she actually, it gives some empathy to him and listening, treating him like he's important, not just because he's Anakin's droid, but he's important. And so it's interesting things in what they do with how they treat droids and the differences. But this one particularly just seems to really the empathy. Going on. And then how much emotion that this droid has as well.
Then again, here's the thing. Here's the question, David. How long has this robot been not deleted all its personality files? This robot has been left to run probably for the entire time of Andor living with his mother and beyond. This is an old machine,
Yeah, exactly. Well, because remember, we saw in the flashback that it was all bright, shiny new, speaking clearly. So it's been around, for as long as Andor's been around, at least at a minimum.
It could very well be Andor's age,
Right. So he's fairly old.
Whatever age Andor is. But
Andor, he's older.
But like I've said this before, I know maybe this is the weird sci-fi fan in me, but I'd love to have now even a short series, maybe even animated, of droids throughout the eras of Star Wars and how they lived and how they are treated, because there's a big story element there that we just don't visit in the movies.
I think, isn't there? I thought there was something in the works, or was thrown out there to be in the works as part of the whole smorgasbord of things. I could be mistaken. It might have been just one little thing, but I think there's something supposed to be in the works.
I hope so, because
but I don't know how much it touches upon it, but it's supposed to somewhat.
Because the droids are some of the most popular characters in Star Wars. Everyone knows C-3PO and R2-D2. No one hates those characters, and they make sure that every single person in Star Wars seems to have some sort of droid or AI. Even Luthen has a kind of a droidy pal who's part of a ship that we see later on in the episode. So it's maybe they just don't want to address the fact that, hey, we have sentient slave labor and the good guys have them too. But then again, isn't the prequels the whole story about how the good guys, the Jedi, not that good? Not evil, not purposely bad, but definitely, lost their way. Yeah, absolutely. But give me a show of it. I want to see it. I want to see the story. Okay, it's the only thing I really liked about Solo was this idea of sentience in droids. What's the story? But yes, then we go on to Bix, and she is not having the best of it.
Yeah, Bix, obviously, as they give the little, vocal throwback there, that audio that they put her through, that messed her up. They weren't kidding that this causes issues. As they drag her out of her cell, they're carrying her basically, and she looks spaced out. Yeah.
And she's very much struggling because, we get what's the best way, not the inspector, that sounds too nice and official, but the person who's torturing her. And he says, look,
interrogate her.
Interrogate her. And he said, look, you need to tell me the truth. You need to say clear and loud. Otherwise, I have to call the doctor back. Imagine turning the idea of a doctor, a healer, a good man into something. I mean, I think we mentioned World War II too much in the show, but it gives that sort of Mendel vibe that science and medicine turned on its head for evil, and they're really torturing her for that, and she's still struggling. My God, she's still fighting it. They want to know where's Andor, where's Andor going,
Right. Yeah, they question, they once again bring up this character Krieger
as well. Yeah.
I tried looking at, because they actually this finally show in their hologram, right, showing that I tried to take a good look and see. I was wondering, like, are they? This feels like they keep bringing up Krieger, like they're using him as a very focal point in the previous episodes, in this episode, and we bring up again later on. We'll touch upon as well for an argument that this Krieger character. And I was trying to see if it recognizes anybody, like just they would use him as a surprise character played by so and so, right?
Yeah.
Because I haven't seen anything or heard anything, but I didn't recognize, so I don't know. But it's interesting they keep bringing this character up, and they interrogate her, saying, "Is he the one you introduced Andor to? Who is that? Who you wanted to meet? Who is where are they? Who are they?"
Yeah, I mean, like, if it's Krieger the way it's spelled, it obviously there's the German connection with it meaning warrior and all this kind of stuff. But there's a few mention of Krieger in the wikis, but I don't think anything is related to this, at least. But yeah, no.
As far as I understand, it came about from the show. I didn't think there was any previous reference. This character is made for the show.
No, I don't think so. But like the word Krieger has come up here and there. But then again, it's because it's an actual word, and it's
yes.
It's bound to pop up. And okay, so we know that Marva's having a funeral, and they clearly had to ask the local empire who's in charge if they could have it, and but give them a small one, because Daedra is there and she wants to lay a trap for Andor,
right? This is kicking off a big thing with the passing of Marva.
And I'm really wondering, is Andor gonna come back? Like his mother told him, hey, look, that's the price of love. You think about the people, you worry about them, but you have to keep on going, and that's just how it is. Like, I know it's not true. I know it's not the case. But for a little bit in this, I was like, is she dead? Is it something like, under the counter being planned? But no, I think, she's very much dead.
I don't think they're doing anything.
No.
Yeah, more.
It's not what the character's about, really. Not really. Especially if they wouldn't have built up all her illness and getting tired and that. It felt like they had too much of that and some private interactions that showed it. You'll watch now. There'll be like Luthen will be in a hole with Andor, and he has a gun out ready to shoot, and she just jumps up from the rafters and just knocks Luthen down. Like, that's what's going to happen, I tell you.
Batman kicks me in, and you're like, I got spry. You're
B2 Emo just comes out on little jetpacks, just knock him across the head.
Machine guns out, and you're like, where did this come from? I was just fooling you.
And then Andor turns around and just has a lightsaber. What? Oh gosh!
Oh my god! That would be the true Disneyfication of things. If we would just be like, oh my god!
Yeah. Yet again, we can say about Disneyfication. Star Wars never made this show by itself. Disney was there, Though here's the thing: I think a lot of people don't really understand about Disney. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not like, yay, Disney about owning everything, and in fact, quite the opposite. But I will say, when they do buy properties, they're usually quite hands off of it, because they buy successful companies and then just kind of go, yeah, we're going to leave this person in charge, you do your thing, and kind of, that's kind of the same how I have with Marvel. For the most part, they do come in once in a while, like, especially with, hey, how can we have a lesbian couple there, but cut it so the Chinese market will still buy it up? Like, that kind of stuff is still happening. But for the most part, I don't think Disney comes in too much with big plot things. I think they kind of came in when Solo flopped, went, no more spin-off movies for now, please, thank you. Again, not a Disney fan in that way, just to be clear, but they're not as ingrained into what they own as people might think. Anyway, but they want to see if they can maybe capture Andor, and again, like I said, about Krieger. But let's go to our weirdo Cyril. He gets he gets woken up by his ma. I like, you know, like where he lives really reminds me of those like bubble apartments in like Japan that were the big craze like in the 80s, you know, like with the hi-fi stereo and the, like the big round windows and that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yes.
Yeah. Which, by the way, I'm fascinated by that kind of stuff. Like, I'm like, oh, like if I built a dystopia, I would do that. You know, though saying to be fair, they weren't really meant to be like where you lived all the time. It was like for businessmen who lived in the country who, you know, get an apartment in the city while they're there. But yeah, I kind of get that vibe from it. Like this very like, oh, what's the best way to say it? Very.
Well,
go on.
Yeah, it's very sterile, right? But not so. But it's very. You know, it's their necessities only, right? Layout and everything. So very small. I mean, it's exactly what you see in large cities, right? From like New York or LA, you know, where it's like these, you know, you're paying, you know, all kinds of money for just barely a space where you can your bed can fold out, it kind of, you know, pop up, and you've got this little kitchen, you know, or hell, even if you do have what you know, I crack up about the places that, you know, that are actually, your bed is actually this, you have to go up a little ladder.
Oh, you have a table underneath it. Yeah,
that's your bed. I'm like, man, I hope you don't have like night terrors where you want to, you know, suddenly sit straight up. You're going to bash your head through the ceiling.
Oh, yeah. Like the thing is, right, I have a fascination about like the tiny house movement. I really do. Mm-hmm. But I also know I need room for my junk. Like I like if I had that tiny house movement, like half the place would be full of my books, you know, like I need more space. But yeah, there's like this primitive sort of pre-made housing. So every single house will have the bed in the same place, the same windows, in just a big block, and that's why it's kind of reminded me of that was the Japanese bubble house apartment things. But yeah, his ma wakes him up and it's just a really sad looking room. He just has this brown blanket over him and he's just like, "Get up, Cyril! There's a call for you!" And he's like, "Oh." You know? And he's just like, "Oh, I was just getting to sleep and I was dreaming about like stalking someone. What are you doing?" And yeah, he goes to the phone, which... it's not really a phone, is it? It's more like a weird radio because he has to keep adjusting it to keep it working.
Yeah. No, it's like TV. Yeah, this TV radio thing going on. I'm like, really? All this technology. This is what's cracking me up, right? Yeah.
But it's his old buddy, the guy who was first guy in Star Wars to say shit. And he's just like, I have information. And like this guy really imprinted on Cyril, didn't he? He just straight away went, "This is my general." Why? No idea. Okay. But I think they're both kind of manic and maybe they recognize that in each other, like, you know.
Yep. Extremely manic.
Yeah. And he's twiddling on the phone, trying to keep it. Like, imagine if you had to do that. I know I'm just complaining now, but like, mobile phone surely is within the realms of possibilities in the Star Wars universe. we have a landline here, but that's because I live with like 80-year-old people. Like, who has a landline? I guess so. You still get a landline if you get internet in places, isn't it? Some stuff like that.
Well, no, even these days, like landline, they're doing away with anything that's even traditional landlines as we know it is nearly dead. Yeah, right? We can't even order standard landline, and anything. Even landline-ish is really just mimicking it basically by just because of internet. It's basically just an internet voice over IP, but it's barely a landline in that case.
Oh, do you know something interesting? In Ireland, we have a crowd called Air. They used to be called Aircom. And their real target is targeting out old people because they're the landline crowd, right? Mm-hmm. And their design, like the EIR, is just a loop of, you know, the corded phone, the loops on the corded phone? Like this, and it's just like that stretched out to spell out air. And it's like it's the last thing they have. It's like, please, we do landlines. Please, we're even package some like satellite TV with it, please. Just stay with us, because no one's buying landline anymore. Why would you? You know? But yeah, so it's weird because they do have communications things. I don't know. Just go to Star Trek and borrow their communicator or whatever. Like Star Wars, sort yourself out.
Yeah, it's very funny, the mixture of technology in Star Wars world, right? In the Star Wars universe, where we have this weird mixture of the era it was made in, right? That still uses very hints of the very same technology that existed in 70s, as well as newfangled things, right? That are completely futuristic, and you're just like, this is very strange.
Could you imagine what Luthen could do on WhatsApp? My God, his mind would be blown.
Lots of burner phones.
Yeah. So, someone got kicked out of the channel again. Oh well. But Cyril is. Yeah, his man's just like, you thought you were all blah, blah, blah. And he's just like, I'm angry. And he's probably going to leave very quickly.
But yeah, so he knows about, so we're laying, this whole episode is laying down this
everyone's getting invited to the party.
Exactly, right? This footwork here, this framework. Okay, everybody knows. So now everybody's they know one central place to help to clamp down on as we'll continue on. But yeah, that's basically what they're established throughout this episode is everybody starts finding out about his mother's death.
Yeah, absolutely. So look, we'll move on a little bit, and I suppose we should talk about Andor. Andor.
What's going on with Andor?
Oh, let's not go back to that jingle. But
I will always go. That's just how this feels, right? The series, like I said at the beginning, right? It's less and less about Andor. It's just more about the rebellion and the Empire. So, it really is. And he's a little cheery break in with the jingle. What's the Andor?
Well, you know what? I promise you. Season 2 will have a jingle for when we get to Andor bits. All right? Okay, we'll do that. All right. Okay, so Andor and Melshi, his new best buddy ever. Melshi. Okay, Melshi. Right. They're climbing a cliff, and that hurts their hands.
And their feet. Their hands bloodied. Oh God, that I have a thing about with toes bloodied, like I could feel it, right? If you're bare feet against stuff like that.
You grew up in a desert. I get it.
Oh my God, I cringed. I not bad enough to look away, but God, I was like, oh my God, ow.
Yeah. And they kind of, I guess this is again a lesson of perseverance because they're holding on because there's someone above and they don't want to be caught, and they're just like, I can't hold on anymore. And Andor goes, I hear you. I am listening to you. I'm not sure what it's trying to entail. Maybe like them being acknowledged or whatever. Obviously, there's some sort of strength derived from that. I'm not really understanding where they're going with that.
Yeah, it was interesting. I think it was, he was just acknowledging, like I hear you. Why? Like this just it's just acknowledging it
because but it feels more than just like, I hear you, whatever, let's go. It feels more like, no, it's important for you to know that I hear you. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's because they were in prison for so long and no one gave a shit. This is a hey, we're in it together kind of thing. Do you think?
That's kind of what I felt like. There was this. It's that strength in saying that, right?
Yeah.
That he is because he's not just going to be like, oh, it's okay, but reassuring. He just knows that, look, I hear you. We are like almost like in a way he was saying himself, like acknowledging it that we're both in pain. Like, yes, we're suffering in this. This hurt, but we've got to push. But saying it without saying it, if simply saying I hear you.
Interestingly, it kind of goes back to at the beginning of the series where we were talking that everyone has a rebellion and they all have their stories and they wouldn't share each other's stories all the time. They kind of kept to themselves. Here we kind of have a thing like, now we're sharing a rebellion. I hear how you're suffering. I am listening to it. We're in it together,
Yeah.
But they eventually come up when they think whatever is gone, and they see a small spaceship, and then some. And let me check my notes. Big fat aliens, which it sounds mean, and it is mean, but it turns out these are actually quite sound aliens. But we don't find out straight away. All right.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, look, they're literally meant to play the big fat aliens, right?
Yeah, I mean, they really are.
Like, he literally has his belly sticking out underneath his shirt. Like this, I'm not even saying that alien species is fat naturally. I'm just saying they are the fat ones. Like, I'm sure there's like, streaky thin ones jogging somewhere. By the way, anyone who's going to get upset in case of fat phobia and all that kind of stuff, I'm a fat shit. Deal with it. But yeah, like,
oh my god,
they try to belt it to the little ship. Now this ship is an old version. Andor's not even sure if he can fly it, and these guys seem to be fishing or something. I think the alien dudes, or whatever they're doing, they're doing something, and they try to belt it to it, and they get caught straight away and get put into weird, gooey, webby things. Like,
as we see that they, what you do, they're like, oh, we can make the ship. They're distracted, and by the time they'll see us, even if they see us, we'll make it. Like, something's gonna. And yeah, sure enough, they're running. They almost are gonna make it. This gooiness. I swear, what they reminded me of as they shot out, they were the thick and looking and very white looking. Is that okay? This sounds really like I'm going somewhere else. What it looked like was udon noodles to me. Like, I've just been making that.
Yeah.
I started laughing, when I saw it, because I'm like, oh, they just nailed him at noodles.
Yeah. Or like weird, like really like old Spider-Man comic web slinging, like, yeah. But like, okay, we kind of get this hint that they're gonna eat something like that, because that's the idea we get from orc, like big heavy alien dudes, and he's just, we're not part of the Empire, and this guy's just going up to her, the Empire destroys everything, it goes over. I honestly, I couldn't make sense of what he was saying half the time. He just seems to like be rumbling, like, everyone thinks they're destroying it, and the Empire coming here. He just seems to be giving out.
This is one of those times of, I was having a hard time. I'm glad for closed captioning, because I watched this with closed captioning, so it helped out a lot having closed captioning on, of catching what they were saying. And they're like, prison spoiled the water, but it was the Empire, but spoiled the water, prison did it, and you're like, snap.
Yeah, but honestly, I was saying, like, I'll never give out about Yoda again, like, but yeah, so we have that happening, and then they said, please don't kill us, or whatever. And then, we're not gonna kill you. And they just kind of go like, like, wait, just ask. We'll fly you. What the hell is wrong with you people?
Yeah, I love that. It was like all of a sudden, like, we're not, where you heading? You're like, Andor's, Neomos?
Yeah.
You went through all this, like, this is the only entertainment they get. They're just like, this is gonna be fun.
Yeah. No, I like those two alien dudes. Even the alien dude who had no hands and two knives that he just jointed in. I don't know. But yeah, not much going on with Andor this episode. We'll go back to him at the very end, because you already know what's going on, but we'll get there. Let's go to Mothma for a second. Clearly, Mothma has cracked, and she seems to have agreed to take part in the old traditions of her home. Very much to the point that her sister is shocked that she's putting her niece and Mothma's daughter through this weird, like I was saying to you, like Handmaid's Tale sort of sit around the table, Catholic school, Sunday, chanting to each other thing.
I mean, more than that, it's this cult thing, right? This weird chant. When they're doing that chant, and you're hearing about, I meant to write down some of the words to it. It's just like, what in the binding and all this stuff. You're just like, this is some crazy cult shit. What is going on? And Mothma's just standing there watching,
drinking wine, going, oh fuck it.
Yeah, like, and you can tell, like, yeah, she's uncomfortable, but she doesn't like it. But here her daughter's just in there and like happily enjoying, like just looks all happily. Here I am with my, with my friends, and we're all doing this. It's like,
yeah,
what the hell? And yeah, Vel comes up to her, is like, sees this and knows what it is.
Yeah,
you realize when they're saying, oh, this is part of their tradition, and it's like, oh, so this comes from that side.
But it's really interesting, though. It's really interesting comment, and because I'm going to say the comment you're about to say, because first of all, she says, "What are you doing? Like, this is so fucked up." Like, and Mothma goes like, "Yeah, interestingly, people take our traditions more serious here than they do back home." And like that is a political message. Now, Star Wars is always political. Yes, it is. Angry man somewhere who says Star Wars has become too political. It has been very political. Day one. Chill. This is not made up sci-fi in general, by the way, just in case you haven't noticed. But yeah, and yeah, Mothma makes this point like, yeah, no, people are even more conservative, I suppose, away from their planet. And I was kind of mentioning, you get that a lot with, expats around the world. They tend to be very patriotic to their homeland, even though they live for many years away. And I guess there's a part of it like trying to hold on to your culture and feeling like it's going to ebb away, or I think that's the only way. Like, you think you're not true to your roots anymore, so you have to be extra hard on it, which is nonsense of the highest order. But whatever.
I mean, it's interesting because you see that happen with a lot of folks, and they'll lean towards some of of the old country, whatever it may be, no matter where you're from, like but they'll bring up things even with things that it's just the ideal of them, right? Or the idea and the ideal.
Yeah, I mean, as an Irish person, I can tell you stories about Irish Americans and what they think Ireland is like, and what they think Irish culture is like, and Ireland has moved very far on. And I mean, David, you've been over here, like you must have had an image of Ireland, right? An idea of what Irish people were and all that kind of. Did it conflict to what you experienced?
So it was very interesting, right? Well, it helped the fact of that my wife had been there previously once before she met me, and so described some things. But yeah, I had obviously certain things, and funny enough, I would say for the most part, it had a lot of things that I was expecting, and other things. The funniest thing to me was this, and I think it's because of my trip to years prior to Japan that I was also kind of influenced by. But coming to Ireland, what amused me the most was the music. And what I found amusing, especially particularly not even just being like, say, just in Dublin, where it's like just at the main bars, right, which have more, I will say, tourists, right?
Temple bar.
The music is not going to be all traditional or all real proper. But what cracked me up was even more in the countryside of things, and hearing like all the radios being tuned to just pop stations, and like it's all just American, like basically just to all that, and I just laughed, going as I'm going around. I still felt like I was in America, in a lot of times, just with more beautiful scenery, right? Or in a lot of cases, or just blocked in the road by a herd of sheep and having to wait. That's the traffic jam, right? There literally was one part we literally had that happen. But. It's funny, it's like it's just interesting the things that are different, and what you have as your ideals or your idea in the
here's the thing. Countries. I'm not going to like completely say people. Okay, it's going to sound really weirdly white supremacy, but like I'm not. No, I say like this. Okay. I'm saying there is an element of trying to preserve a bit of authentic culture from the past. 100%. Definitely enjoy your traditions as long as you share them. Like, that's the whole point of traditions, isn't it? You share it and have a good time with people.
That should be. There's certain traditions, like yes, like a good example is certain music, certain foods, certain things.
Yeah.
I think there are good traditions. There are things you have to try to hold to, especially based on a lot of that is particularly because of what they represent.
Yeah,
right?
but like for example, when you were over here, like I'm sure you went to a pub for like trad sessions, like traditional Irish music sessions.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be a terrible shame if those things disappeared.
Yeah, exactly.
But again, that kind of tradition, great, fantastic. Let's keep it alive in all different cultures and share it. Like, never be like possessive. Like, bring people in, show them. This is the good shit about being human.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think that's that. It's those kinds of things. That's why, like, I love seeing. For example, things of Japan, right?
Yeah.
Things for me, like for seeing the Japanese culture of certain things, being. That people was, try to learn about, yada, yada. And, you're seeing some folks, you're doing cultural appropriation and, all it's like, they're just experiencing this, let's say a tea ceremony, let's say, right? They're not making a mockery of it.
Yeah.
They're, saying, well, hey, they do this in Japan. So let's experience this. Let's see. I think those are good things.
Yeah.
Right. It's if you're doing it in a manner that you're dressing up like clowns and explicitly because you're like, oh, isn't this silly, this is stupid. Okay, now you're legit making a mockery.
Yeah,
you're doing it to experience being like, this is an interesting cultural thing because especially like I think because it's everybody has we do have our own traditions and
of course we do.
And things, and for some folks it kind of gets diluted or gets lost with some, so it makes it interesting experiencing something. It's like, we don't do that. Well, I mean,
even real world example, I believe like the traditional kimono kind of dress was going out of fashion in Japan, and it was brought back to life because of tourism, because people wanted to see it and wear them, and it actually kind of preserved a bit of culture that most Japanese people were like, why would we still wear these things? Like,
exactly.
It's like, I mean, I'm telling you, the paddy caps, you know what I mean by paddy caps, the Irish caps, like, you know what? If I'm in Dublin and I see someone wearing that, I can tell you where the tourist is because it's not an Irish person wearing it. Like, if you go to the country, sure, yeah, maybe. But Dublin City, we see one's like, wow, where are you from? New York or, But again, I find it funny, it's nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But
here, this
is the dark side of culture. This is the possessive sort of highly, nothing against religious people, but like this indoctrination vibe to it,
Right. That's the part. Let's be clear, right? That's the part that gets scary. It's indoctrination, no matter what it is.
Yeah.
When you get to that level, that gets. That's where I back away.
No. I mean, like,
let's not.
I would say this. I think I had a fairly positive time growing up in religious schools because that was what the schools were. So I was, raised in CBS schools, and you know what? It really didn't do me any harm. I had a good experience. I think most of my friends would say the same thing. But, like when I do talk to people about school experiences, like in primary school, every morning we said a few prayers. And like if I said that to anyone who kind of grew up in a secular school, they go, okay, that's interesting. But I never thought anything more of it. But yeah, again, but even then, like you choose to go to religious school, this seems like a cultural must-have in the Star Wars universe. Like, hey,
right.
Because here's the thing, she's obviously getting her daughter involved in that so that she can marry this boy of 15 years of age, most likely.
Yeah. Well, this was interesting, right? While she's it's kind of odd, right? Because you can tell that Mon Mothma doesn't seem to be particularly put in a fond light of all traditions about her, where she's from.
Yeah.
But as she tells Vel, and obviously by the fact of how shocked Vel is, she's like that. She would have her daughter doing it. That is, as Mon Mothma says, she goes, it's actually her. She goes, it was Lita. It's the daughter. She goes, she's the one that's all for this. She's the one who sought this out. They weren't pushing it on her. She sought this out. So it's like she went for it.
You know what? I think there's something. The one thing I'll say that this season has failed is trying to explain that relationship between Mon Mothma and her daughter, because is it just teenage rebellion? Is it her just preferring her father? No, there's something going on here. Granted, maybe Mon Mothma is not enough in her life, but then again, we see her every day with her daughter. Every time she's at home, she's with her daughter. Like, this is not anything, Yeah,
it's an odd. Yeah, I agree. I think it's one thing they've not fully fleshed out. So we have to come to some conclusions about this, where this is coming from, because it does feel like it's more than just teenager being teenager rebellion. Oh, I don't like my parents. I don't like my mom.
Yeah,
my dad lets me do cool stuff. We didn't touch upon that too much, because we do see that the father she seems to favor him a bit more, but we're not fully seeing like this full gravitation towards her dad.
But
right?
here's okay.
I don't get that. Yeah. I don't get that feeling.
No, what we've seen the father we've seen the father like twice though. He hasn't been around that much.
Right, but even Vel makes that comment. Oh, is it because of the father? She's like, no, because I think everybody we were assuming that. But I think it adds to. I do lean towards what this guy feels like. Oh, she's going for the traditions and whatnot because it's what she. That if she leaned towards it, does speak to. This gives me that vibe. Not saying anything about anything. Just it gives me this vibe about the parents being distant, right? So she's looking for something to latch onto, for that family, for that, feeling of belonging, and that's something that she can own. That's not. Not just totally from her parents telling her to do something or getting anything. She's choosing this, and it's like it works because this is part of my people. Okay, so it is me. It's part of me, and I want this.
I think there's another option here, another point of view to look at this, though. Mm-hmm. What I think
another point of view.
I know it's very
from a certain point of view.
From a certain point of view. I think so you have to imagine the world the daughter lives in, right? So high society. She is arguably amongst her species or culture. She is probably ranked as one of the highest on Coruscant. But we know obviously that there are other people, other children, other peers of her age around her, of her faith and her religion and her culture as well. And do you think because they're mostly seem to be conservative because they're part of this weird faith thing, like all the other kids, and so obviously their parents are as well. Do you think that maybe the other families are talking about Mon Mothma being a busybody, not being a traditionalist, not being a conservative, just really sort of making their people stick out in the Senate in a way they wouldn't want to be? And she hears all this. She hears it from her peers. She hears it from her peers' parents. And she's just like, oh, I hate this. Why are you making my life? Because she might be bullied. She might be attacked for this.
Right. Here's something. Yeah. And that fully fits. I like. I think that's a very good point. Right. That would absolutely. That's exactly what would happen, actually.
But we'll kind of let them bubble away there. But we'll take someone from here. Her sister goes to see.
Is it her? Was it her sister? Is she her sister or is she her cousin? I thought she was her cousin.
Is it cousin?
Either way,
I thought she said aunt. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Look. This person. Oh, it is. No, because she says, are you going to visit your parents? That's right. It's a cousin. Yes, that's right. Yeah. But her cousin goes to see Luthen's secretary, Clea, if I remember right. Yes, because now I have to just think it's Leia and a letter before it. Clea. And yeah, I like to see that the shop actually is a working shop, because the secretary or Luthen's love interest or Luthen's wife, who knows?
His partner.
His partner. but she's
partner, you can take in any form of this partner in this whole.
But like, she's definitely like emotionally attached to a certain degree, because she's like, maybe we should come home and relax. It's fine. But yeah, she's fixing on some sort of coin or whatever. She's working on a microscope. I'm not sure what it is. I'm sure there's like a whole bunch of people, it's from this episode. It means this and this.
I wanted to go. I was going to go back and screenshot it so I could look up. I hadn't had a chance to do that. I imagine that was some kind of reference. So I'm going to take a look and see.
But I will say, I think they casted Mothma's cousin really well, because I thought it was Mothma who came to the shop to look in to the secretary at the door, but it's her cousin. So they really good casting it. Even though if I saw them both on screen at the same time, I'd be like, no, they're different. But I don't know, it means nothing, but whatever. And
no, I think that was not, you hit something that I had thought the same thing. And once they revealed when she's at the door and Clay lets her in, I was like, oh, it's Vel. It hit me of going, I thought the same thing. Like, wow, they are both doing really well about flipping their personas, right? She particularly flipped her persona to being that same regal, of importance. Right? And holding herself and looking that way from a distance, so that you did seem like it was the same person. So I thought that really hit. I was like, that was well done.
Absolutely. I love how the show has these like double characters in themselves. It's done really, really well. But she's basically there to say, hey, so where's Luthen? And Luthen be doing things. But yeah, do you want to tell us what Luthen is up to?
Yeah, so because I love the fact, real quick, I love that she goes, she's asking where he is, and Clay's like, oh, we have rules, and blah blah blah. She goes, we mean we're here doing blah blah. She's like, we mean we. She goes, I looked around back, his ship's not here.
Yeah.
It's like, so
and the thing we should mention as well, like Luthen, so I. Just before this episode started, they had like a playback of what happened in previous episodes, and they kind of really dug deep in like a few episodes back. And like one thing that Luthen came up with was like, he wants to bring the rebels together. That's his goal. That's what he wants to do. And I'll leave you now to go and see what Luthen's doing.
So as we go from her, Vel's reason for being there is just to mention, basically she's telling him, let him know. And again, the whole seed of this whole thing is let him know Andor's mom died. Right? Yeah. So again, that might be our chance to, so whatever.
He's going to get so many weird calls about his mother dying from so many people.
Yeah, no kidding, right? What? What are you talking about? So, so now we go from, now let's go over to what's going on with Luthen.
Yeah.
What we see with Luthen is now he's off, and once again he is meeting. He's off meeting with Saw Gerrera again.
Yes.
As we find, it sounds like Saw sent out communication to him, because it doesn't seem like he's not just visiting him. Saw is there. You see him excitedly running around and throwing things together as he goes, we are doing the mission. We're in. We're going to go. What you wanted us to go work with this Krieger character. But I've got these conditions. But we're not going to just obey anybody. We're just going to do it my way. And here's all this stuff. But he's all excited, all pumped up for it. Just tell him he has to agree to my terms. But I'll do it. All pumped. And he goes, but this is going to happen tomorrow. Luthen tells. I can do that. Just have him agree to my terms. We'll do it. And finally, Luthen just says, nope. I love the pause, Saw's like, but you were all trying to convince me to do it. Now, no, what's going on? And Luthen tells him, it's like, well, ISB knows. They know that, that we're about this. And
we know this from the guy he stopped in the elevator. Yeah.
This first episode, because he gets told about this. So, and I love that now how this scene unfolds between them, right? That, he saw him say, he goes, how do you know I won't tell Krieger about this? Because obviously you haven't. You're just telling us. He goes, well, I don't. But, this is far from ideal for either of us. And going back to forth, as Saw tries to figure this out, he's like, you're willing to burn him. You know he's doomed. You're not going to save him. this seems like there's something else going on. So he goes, well, either you're ISB or you're protecting someone, and you don't want to risk that. And this whole back and forth, and even says, you've got your resources, you've got people on the inside everywhere, because you have someone here, don't you? And finally, throws it out like, oh, well, he goes, yeah, it's this guy. What's he called? Tubes.
Yeah.
It's Tubes. What? No, it's not. Like this whole thing, just enough to finally,
for Tubes to walk over to him, say, hey, literally about to attack me, he just takes a gun out of his holster and just aims it at it's such a good, smart scene as well, Mm-hmm. But he says, you won't get out of here alive, don't you? And it's just, and Luthen first of all is saying like in his head, like, I'm definitely getting out of here. You don't even know. and he kind of tries to convince him.
Oh, he basically does, right?
Yeah.
He finally spells out the scenario. Basically he tells him exactly what he revealed in the previous one, right? Lays it all out for him, and then just says, if I were, and to quell the whole on my ISB, he goes, if I were ISB, he goes, why wouldn't I just send you? That would be perfect, right? Yeah. Capture everybody, boom, or wipe them all out, perfect. But lays out the scenario, just like, we've got to sacrifice this guy. There's not, it's interesting that you do see a little bit of, as they were leading up to this point, you see a little bit of him thinking it through as Saw was going back and forth with him a bit. Luthen even admits, he goes, I thought I knew what the right, scenario is, but here it is. This is what's going on. And Saw agrees. I love the for the greater good. And Luthen saying, call it what you will. And Saw just finally goes, let's call it war.
Yeah.
Like, that's the great. That's just, man, that's real right there. That is the
And Saw is such a good character as well. Like Forrest Whitaker just does it so well. Like, there is a gun aimed at him, and he finds it kind of funny. You kind of go like, there's a giddiness in his face, because like this man's like, you're mental. I like this. What's going on? Tell me.
That's what the Saw character is, right? He's crazy, really. Right? He is seen as a little bit more of the extremist side of things.
He's part of the rebellion that they want to get rid of quick, use him and go,
right.
Yeah. It's a great scene, but you think, that's it. Luthen did his stuff. And Luthen does it as well as he always does, like this maliciousness in him that's calculated. It's like he knows, look, I am an evil bastard now, but I still want what I want from the beginning, and I'll make it happen with whatever I can. And it's gorgeous. It's acted so well. Like, genuinely, I pray he doesn't get killed at the end of the season. I hope he gets into season 2. We need him around. Yeah. I just want him around. Let's keep him.
Exactly. Right? Yeah, that's the thing. I think that scene particularly was very good, especially from what we heard from his monologue in the previous one. Yeah, right? Because we've been questioning. We see this too. We were like, oh, he's just we saw him in the initial. Oh, he's this he's in the rebellion. Oh, then he has this little facade. His acting facade is ha. Oh, he's got these two. Okay, he's two-faced. We get it. Yeah, and then you start seeing this dark turn of him of saying, just wipe. Okay, the job's been done. We got to kill. We got to take out Andor. We got to do this. Him making these darker decisions and these other things going on. And we realize there's a third face to him, and he finally kind of does. I don't think that monologue was fully. It's obviously it was done to try to convince the guy, but I think he did reveal more of actual self of being true, of saying, this is I'm this husk, because of all of this, and I'm tactical. I have to do what we have to do.
Just a great character in all of Star Wars. He, like, written wise, he's up there for me, I think, at this stage. He really runs rings around so many. But talk about, I hope they don't kill him. I definitely thought he might get killed in this episode at the very end, because he goes up in his little speedster. I think like it's a nice enough looking ship. Like, it's not a bad looking ship, but
what they call it, a rest hauler.
yeah. And he gets stopped by the Empire, and I believe you have a fact about this ship that has big satellites on it.
Yeah, so we see this, we see that he's, Luthen's contacting Clea, right? And they're trying to talk, and all of a sudden comms get cut. And, scene pulls back, and we see this Imperial ship. Now, very different from what we've seen previously,
yeah.
Right? It's reminiscent of a Star Destroyer. It's very obviously
it's like someone cut a Star Destroyer up a bit, like they cut a few bits off.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and you got these giant satellite dishes, which we find one being the tractor beam. So, interesting tidbit, right? That is the original concept design for the Star Destroyer.
Oh,
actually.
Interesting. Oh, that's cool.
And if you catch they tell him, hey, who are you? Send your ID. And quickly Luthen tells his droid, tells the ship, hey, get me an Alderaan ID, get me something fake. And as they're sending that, he inquires with, so what's our scenario? The droid tells him, oh, this is it's a Cantwell class ship.
Yeah,
that's a little Easter egg, because the concept artist's name was Colin Cantwell.
That's nice. That's nice.
That was a cool enough, and I thought it was particularly nice because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Cantwell passed away this year. This year he passed away. Nice note.
So yeah.
So it's a nice nod to the original concept artist, and that's why I thought the ship was absolutely cool. When I saw it, I was saying like, oh wow, it's a cool design. I like
a lot more. Like Star Wars obviously takes a bit from Flash Gordon, but like this was super Flash Gordon. Like, this was in your face. This satellite is a tractor beam, that kind of thing. No, like, very much enjoyed it. But there's another little ship that we already mentioned that's a part of this. It's that little ship that can, because I thought Luthen's just going to be captured or he's going to be killed or whatever, but he has other ideas. He starts talking about, my, things are heating up in my engines. My right engine is overheating. Whereas he's like going to his droid, who's a really fleshed out kind of character apparently, and went to him in like, here, get me countermeasurements or whatever, like some way to fight back. And he just shoots shrapnel, like a huge amount of shrapnel, and destroys a huge part of like the tractor beam. Like, it's insane.
That's what's cool. That's the way that scene unwrapped, right? That I loved the Imperials run the ID, right, and it comes back clean. So they're like, oh, so should we let him go? And already they're kind of suspicious because he's taking so long in replying, and they see this engine overheating thing. They're like, something seems sus. I love the guy goes, it came back clear. And the officer goes, we need the practice. We're going to use this as practice.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you think you're going to use this practice? And then those countermeasures, when Luthen just fire the countermeasures, and holy cow, I was not expecting that. I thought that was a really cool effect, and just cool to see. Obliterates the tractor.
You know what's cool about it? It's because it's not an energy thing. It is. Yeah. It's material. It's actual, like, it's kind of like how we saw from the start of the series, where they basically had like shotguns that were just modified to look like space shotguns, but like these were actual physical things. So I and especially because if you think about space, one thing we have issues with in orbit these days, I say it like I'm up there, is like,
you're not in Ireland, you're actually up in space.
It's fine, I can see Ireland. No, but like, one thing I have problems with is all the micro dust and objects that's junk from us, like stuff that has broken up and gone into eternal orbit, and how like a thing the size of a pea can just punch a hole through like a foot of steel or something insane like that. So the fact that they use that kind of thing, especially like, I'm not sure how tractor beams work in Star Wars. I mean, I'm guessing it kind of works like friction in space, and you can decide where things will use friction on and pull and all that. But there's a part of me that hopes like maybe the tractor beams just automatically start pulling things towards themselves. So when he released the countermeasurements, they basically just pulled it towards themselves, like, you know, because no ship would turn around and fly towards and destroy themselves. But they didn't consider this. So yeah, it was a really cool way. And then, you know, obviously tractor beam's gone off. He's ready to skedaddle because the overheating was just, again, it was to pretend. Like, he just asked the AI to bring it up. And the AI must be great because, you know, Luthen's flying this. There's some TIE fighters going after him. And there's a, you know, cannon. And I don't think Luthen's in charge of the cannon. I think the AI is using the cannon to shoot at the TIE fighters. And no shot misses. It is spot on every time. He takes down 1, 2, doesn't he? And then apparently this spaceship has just 2 big lightsabers sticking out the sides.
I thought when he first opened, when the sides open up, I thought for a moment they look like just canisters. I thought he was about to do kind of like Boba Fett, right, where he releases those, like, you know, those bombs that just I thought it was a couple of those at first, like, or some, you know, a modified version. I thought it was those. I was not expecting all of a sudden lightsabers essentially shoot out from his ship, rather. And he goes all Anakin with, you know, I'm going to try spinning. That's a neat trick. And slices right through them.
Talking about Anakin, right? I have a feeling Luthen was probably a pilot at some stage. But like an Anakin-like pilot, because no one has the balls or tenacity to then go up to the big giant ship that tried to get you and fly right past the captain, go, hey, and fly off, you know? Like, that is pure pilot cockiness of going, what are you going to do? And I'm off. Yep. You know, just give me his. Well, forget about it. Call the show Luthen. Just give me more Luthen.
Right. It would make sense that he was somehow involved. You know, particularly that maybe he was involved. Maybe he has that. Maybe fought some in the Clone Wars, right? So he's got some. Yeah. More of that flight experience, military type flight experience. Combat flight experience.
And it might make sense why he has picked up artifacts from all over the place, because he was all over the place during the war. Maybe that's how he started his work, you know? Mm-hmm. It's just like, I can't see that being just a civilian who knows how to, like, kind of drive a spaceship from system to system. Like, this is a person who is trained in doing what they do. You know, also, just want to say, he clearly put all his money into this ship. This ship is amazing. I think, like, if he hung out long enough, he could have taken down the entire ship himself, like the big ship by himself.
Oh, no kidding, right? I guess this is kind of probably adds to he's spent money, but then again, he's a collector of artifacts, right? So it's helped that he's probably able to. We see that he's not only black market essentially, right, for the rebellion, but then probably some legit stuff. So he's found all this stuff, whether bought it, found it, however. But yeah, he's decked this little ship out. And it's just funny that and then they're just left like stunned, right? The Imperial officer is just like they're like, well, what now? And he just stands there just like, what the hell, man?
We're not going to talk about this. No one mentioned anything to anyone else.
Nobody say, we hit a bird. That was a bird strike.
Yeah.
That's a bird strike in space. Yeah. Seagulls, man. Seagulls.
It was an army of prisoners from that prison that everyone broke out of. Yeah, that's it. But yeah, no, that's so. Yeah, there's a part of me that wants to know more about Luthen, but also, like, it's tantalizing not knowing everything about him, you know. Yeah. But look, we'll go to the last bit now. Luthen's off on his merry way, and Andor is at again, not a mobile. Oh, first of all, I should say Andor breaks into his old hotel and gets his stuff. That hotel needs to get better cleaners in. They're not cleaning everywhere.
I don't know. I mean, have you seen? It's not surprising, right? Yeah, it's not surprising. We're not saying that it's obvious. It's not. They're not saying that he's like at the most luxurious one. It looks nice. Doesn't mean he's the most luxurious.
And by the way, I was paying attention more. There was no sand. there is no beachy sand. It's just concrete ramps going to the water.
You're right. Yeah, it's just like ramps and then water. I was like, man, it's not even. It almost looks a little bit, but yeah, it's not.
Yeah, it's like surface-wise, there's maybe a little bit of grit and sand on it, but like that's no real sand. There's no sandcastles being built.
Well, I guess it does make sense. I think it did look like ever so slightly along the edge, and that would make sense because of if there's water. I mean, water has to wash up something.
Yeah. Well, imagine it's almost like the concrete and grit being churned by the ocean kind of thing. Yeah, exactly.
I think that's what I was. But yeah, there's no.
No, because I was looking at it. For some reason, I was the biggest one. I knew it.
I looked at it and I was like, son of a bitch, she was right.
But yeah, he breaks in while the guy's asleep, which is nice. Andor doesn't have to kill anyone. And he makes a call home, and his friend or person who knows him says, hey, just tell my mother I'm okay, and I'll see her and all that kind of stuff. And he goes, I'm sorry, she's gone, she's dead. Finally, Andor is the last one. Finally, somebody tells everybody. Yeah. Everybody's been telling everybody else. Yeah.
Everybody else.
He'll be in some sort of strip club on Coruscant next season, and there'll just be a strip club. Yeah, just tell your mother died. He's like, I know. But yeah, and he obviously hides himself. He says no names, but he finds out his mother's died, and he goes to Melshi. He asks, "Are you okay?" And he doesn't tell Melshi what's happened, and he said, "Look, we got to split up, but you can see there's a bond now between the two. Like,
well, that was big, right?
Yeah,
it was more. It was." Melshi was the one, right? You see, he's contemplating, right, about this whole thing. Like finally, obviously, by them being there, he like, okay, so the fear is lifted off him. We've escaped, right? You feel like he's recognizing. He feels like they've escaped. So his, comment he starts at, saying to Andor, right? He goes, "I wonder how many made it out." And even going, and I love Andor actually. This starting now to lean back again into. Andor maybe seeing about the joining the rebellion, so to speak, right? When he makes this comment, he says not enough. Andor, the one saying not enough, escaped, right?
He is. I just want to add a thing though. He has a really interesting thing, and it's kind of dark to think about. His friend talks. She talks about being free, not being in prison anymore. The only thing that was keeping Andor in his old life was his mother. Now that his mother is dead, as dark as it is, he's free. He doesn't have to worry about his mother anymore. He can do things. And there's almost a part of me that thinks like maybe his mother just kind of knew that and let go, because she died very quickly once he left.
Yeah. Ooh, that's a great point, because that was actually going to lead to that point, but I didn't think about that aspect of it. That maybe that's why she just let it go. Like what they said, she wasn't taking her meds. She just went ahead and did it so that it wouldn't leave Andor any reason, because she would obviously recognized it, right? When they left, she was like, "I know you care. It's okay. Let's love. It's okay." But that's a great aspect about that. Ooh, did she intentionally? That's why she just let herself go, so that
why she put herself in dangerous positions the whole time. It's just she was caught again. She kept like not to say she had a death wish, but definitely like I have nothing left to lose. I don't want to be a burden. I'll do whatever I can, but I'm ready to go.
Yep. And that's a great point. And but that does exactly lead to what I was saying is that we've now, with this, I think we've ticked, put that little tick over. That's like you said, he doesn't have anything now, right? So now, particularly, nothing to hold him back. So what is he going to do? He's lost everything, right? And especially what I think we're really going to see the kicker here is he obviously there was a thing between him and Bix. Right. Yeah.
And I mean, it's a guy and a girl in a Disney product.
Right. but obviously there's some history, and that if he finds out with what happened to her. Now, that the Empire has done to her, because I'm very curious about, was this permanent damage that has been done? She's been messed up pretty good.
PTSD at least, surely,
Yeah, at the very least, right? He finds out about that. That's going to be, this is one of the few people left, if anybody, that he's going to genuinely care about. I think have some kind of, care for. But so yeah, but it's interesting that there they are. He learns that, and it's Mel. She makes that comment saying that that people have to know about this. Someone has to tell people what's happening. So we need to split up. We need to make sure that we both go our separate ways, but we both we have to tell the story about this prison.
Yeah,
this is what's really going on. People don't know this, and I thought that was a powerful moment right there for that.
Yeah. They have purpose. They're not tied down anymore. They're not imprisoned. No one has power over them. I mean, that's the biggest one. Mm-hmm. And that's that's the strength of the rebellion, because the rebellion is not just trying to fight great power. It's also, it sure has a hierarchy within the command and that kind of stuff. But it is about people volunteering. No one is being brought into the rebellion because you have to. You have to fight for us. They're doing it because they choose to. And I guess Andor never had much choice. I mean, he grew up on a planet where he lost his parents and he was pulled away. Sure, his adopted mother cared for him, but he was pulled away against his choice, really, off planet. He's been constantly, being pulled left, right, and center. Through maybe even emotional commitments and all that. But now, Andor, it's up to you. What do you want to do with your freedom? Yeah.
Now he has a choice. Or really, he just. I think that does feel like they've done a good job, right? We're putting the building blocks and paving this way, and you're looking at it and seeing, this is what's going to drive him. I do see it, right?
Yeah.
This is what's driving him towards the rebellion. But it is, I think it's funny that it's made an impact. But it's funny that this show has done a very good job, I think, of showing that, right? We're bringing it down to the people.
Yeah.
But man, this episode and the last one too, right? When you have actors like Stellan Skarsgård, when you have people like and Andy Serkis, right, and Forrest Whitaker, man, the characters already that they built in the show have overshadow, but the actors themselves, holy cow, just almost overshadow and completely almost consume the show.
Like, look, I'm not going to go into, do I think these actors were better than the ones in the Star Wars movies, blah, 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 because that's not how casting works. You pick the best people for the product you're trying to create, and the cast for the original Star Wars movies and the prequels and I guess the sequels, they were chosen for, I'm sorry, the sequel fans. I'm sure you enjoyed it, and I'm delighted you enjoyed it. That's what I say. But yeah. But, they were chosen for it and they fit for the product that they made. I mean, my favorite era is still the original movies, Don't get me wrong, I love the prequel. I almost love the prequel universe more than the original Star Wars universe because there's so much more depth and things going on, but that's a whole another discussion we'll have someday. But yeah, the casting for this show, how they wanted to make the show, is superb. Yeah, really is.
And I think, and it was as a final little nugget, I thought it was really cool. Talking back about the previous episode, that if you read, there's a interview in Entertainment Weekly, I believe, and they were talking about that scene with Andy Serkis, and when he comes, he gets to that platform and he says, I can't swim, right? And they said when they wrote it, that originally their thought process with it was that he actually he's angry about it, that he's speaking with anger, that he's like, I can't swim, I can't get out, right? And
it's like, fuck, I can't, that kind of thing, yeah.
And they said it was Andy Serkis who did that whole serene. Like he just suddenly he goes to perform it and does.
It's almost childlike. Like I can't swim.
I can't swim. It's this serene and the serene smile of just accepting it, right? Like it's laughing. Like he accepts it. He accepts the fate and accepts this laughing almost of going, I did all this. And
what a twist of fate. Yeah.
He accepts his fate. And I'm like, that was beautiful, right? I think that worked best. Either would have been okay, but that worked the best. But I love that. It's like, it speaks to having a really how high caliber Andy Serkis really is. I don't think he gets enough credit of, but I think that he's an amazing, performance actor for, motion capture and great voice and all this, but it's everything about him. He is a superb actor. And I really hope we do see more of it. I would love to know, as I mentioned previously, is like, man, I'd love to know what would happen to him. But at the same time, maybe my head canon just let it be. We don't see him. But I think it would be kind of a really cool little throwback, maybe to help be like, because you don't know, like, was he stuck there? Did they capture him because he can't swim? What happened? I would love this little nugget that either in Andor and something else later on that we see maybe like a bunch of wanted posters or something as they're scrolling through something and you see his poster, like his face pop up as saying wanted.
Yeah,
but it's not acknowledged though, right? It's more of just it's a background thing or something there. You
could even have like maybe like a poster that's half ripped, and you can just make his face out.
Exactly, something that you can make out, and so that way then fans you'd be like, it's a wanted poster from here on, so you know that you're like, he made it, he got out. Whether how much further he got, you don't know, but you realize that the Empire didn't get him. Yeah. However he ended.
Yeah. It's really interesting because you mentioned that moment where he kind of decided to change the scene, and I'm looking at he has done some directing, so that's cool enough to know. Yeah. Apparently he directed Mowgli, Legend of the Jungle. I didn't realize he did that.
Did.
Yeah, it makes sense that he did, because I mean, his expertise in like CGI capture would be amazing in that. But yeah, he's also like he did Venom, Let There Be Carnage. He directed that apparently.
I forgot about that. Yes, I forgot that was one of his a big project. Yeah, because that one surprised me when I learned that previously. I'd totally forgotten. Yeah, so his accomplishments and what he does, he's knowing everything, right? I think he's worked both sides. Yeah, by working both sides, so knows a lot and really brings a lot of experience.
I just wish he was known more, like from his performance in just this alone. Not to say I haven't seen him in other stuff as well. Like I wish he was known for more than just like Planet of the Apes and Lord of the Rings, because he really deserves it. I mean, I know it's quite a mainline series of films, but he was in the first Wakanda movie, Black Panther movie, and I loved him as a villain. I think he was probably one of the better things from it. He was also in Age of Ultron, I think, wasn't he? Because
that was I think he was there first, and then you backtracked with Black Panther, right?
But yeah, he's really great in that as well, and like he plays a good villain, or like like dark gray sort of, and he's like the nicest person in real life from any interviews I've seen. But yeah, no, really dig it. Looking forward to seeing more of him. Kind of want to see his character again, but again, I hope Andor doesn't become its own sort of cliche where it'll keep on bringing popular things back from what people liked, like
that's my worry, right? That was exactly why I said, like, it's kind of not better that he isn't like kind of left in your head canon, right? You imagine, but like I said, but I wouldn't mind the if it's season 2, as Andor is running by something, or as he's scrolling through, there's a hologram, or like you said, a torn poster or something, that you just see that and you go, so you get that. I think that brings a nice little bit of semi-closure, but still you don't know, or even like
throw him into like a comic or two or something. And I know that's not like great for the actor, but like
the characters.
Look, I like extended media, I really do, but it's always kind of like B canon, isn't it? It's like it's all canon until it's contradicted by the main continuity in my head, and even then I'll do a few mental somersaults trying to make it work. But yeah,
Yep.
like I would like to maybe see even how he ended up in prison, make it like a prequel comic series. I dig something like that. Maybe still leave the mystery of where he ends up, but tell us a bit more about his character, But yeah, I think we'll leave it at that unless you have anything else.
No, I think just from here now now that finally Andor knows that his mom is passed. Obviously, they've done this big setup, so it sounds like probably last episode next week.
Yeah.
Is he back to character? Is he going to be? Is this all going to culminate? Is everybody going to be there, or is he? I would think it would just be funnier if they just had everybody's going to be there except him. He's just like he's off on course, so he goes somewhere else. He's just like, yeah, well, that's too bad.
It'll be really interesting to me, at least. Did they know they got a second season when they finished making these episodes, or didn't they?
Yeah, well, I know previously when he mentioned it, I believe it's Celebration. It's now they said they would like to do a second season. So I would imagine they wrote it that this should finish in such a way that it should be I'm hoping that it will wrap things up nicely, but it'll probably be in a way that allow for a second season, but it could also just be left as its own. Hopefully,
yeah,
you could. If it didn't, it's still okay. There we go. Because I wanted to say, Diego made that comment that this wraps up, but we would like to be able to continue the story with one more season. And from what we've heard, this will be it, right? That he did say this will be his last. The season 2 will be the last outing of his character.
Yeah, which is fair enough. And the main reason I'm asking is because if they did wrap everything up, so to speak, with the next episode. There's no way Luthen survived. There's no way. Luthen's dead at the end of this season, and I want another season of Luthen. Like, please, please. Like, give me I said it already, but just give me a bloody show about Luthen. Oh, I'd watch it instantly. Like, you have my money, Disney, if you want that. But yeah, look, we'll leave it at that, folks. Let us know what you thought of the episode. What do you think is going to happen in next week's episode? Do you think Luthen's going to survive? Please tell me yes. And tell all your friends who gave up watching this show in the first 3 episodes to get back and really watch this, because this is actually I would go so far to say that all you need to know, if you weren't a big Star Wars fan, all you need to know about this is that there's an empire that's trying to control people, and those people don't like it. And work from there, because you don't have to know who Mon Mothma is to understand the story within this show. You don't need to know who Luthen is. Luthen is a brand new character. You don't even know who Andor is. All you know about Andor is he's the main guy, and we probably should think he's a nice guy, eventually, at least. These are the important things. And tell your friends to go back and watch this, and let them understand that just watch things for a slow burn is fine. Really, you don't have to consume all the time. Just relax and enjoy it. Anyway, folks, look after yourselves and look after your loved ones, and bye from me.
Bye from me.
Bye bye.